Welcome into Simply the Bets, brought to you by the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Glenn Clark, Paul Valley with you. I've had a couple of NBA playoff bets go awry already, so I need some help trying to make some money, and we are getting very close to the start of the NFL Draft, which will, of course, be the next time that we will be in the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. Hope that you will come join us 1 week from Thursday night as we hang out with you for the first round of the draft. The NFL chick, Sarita Hubbard, will be joining me. We'll have great giveaways for you, and it is the best live betting event of the year. There's just, you can go right back up to the 61 self-service kiosk, bet on every pick throughout the course of the night. Looking forward to being in the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland for the first round of the NFL Draft next Thursday night. That is, of course, April 28th. Come hang out with us then. Later on in the program, we will check in with Leon Twyman, the Assistant General Manager of the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. But we start this week the way that we do every week here on Simply the Bets. Let's head out to Vegas. Our buddy at VSiN is Mr. Aaron Oster, and he's with us now here on GCR. What's going on, pal? How are you?
I'm doing well. That time's finally come. We're getting so many NFL draft props now, so I'm a happy.
Well, okay. So first of all, I got to give you credit because you nailed one last week. I was in agree with you. It was Eric Lauer's strikeout total against the Orioles, over 4.5. It was by the skin of your teeth, but you got it because he finished with 5. So that was a good one last week.
Hey, there's no such thing as a close win.
That's a good point. Just a win. Much like when the Suns tried to blow a 20-point lead the other night against the Pelicans and managed to just barely hang on to cover the 10.5. It counts. No matter how you get it, it counts. And I totally wasn't worried at all, Aaron. As you can tell, Cass, you can show. Look at my fingernails. I clearly wasn't worried whatsoever. I was doing quite fine. Clearly fine. All right, let's talk about that because I was just telling people we got an event coming up for the draft in the Fanduel Sportsbook. To me, it's my favorite live betting night of the year because it's very simple. Pick comes in, you can race back up to the kiosk, make your bet on the next pick, and you can do that the entirety of the night. I know you love betting the NFL Draft. What are you, besides anything that might come up during your 5Ls, what are you specifically interested in as far as betting the draft is concerned?
Oh, there's a lot, and I'll try to avoid ones that are going to, like you said, coming up. The most recent ones I've played, I've been looking. So all of the over-unders are coming out recently. Like we've been rolling out. Obviously, I had told you about the wide receivers last week, but right now you're seeing more draft positions come out. One I really love right now, Kyle Hamilton, the over on that one. He keeps dropping and dropping and dropping. Right now, you can get it at plus money to go outside the top 10. I think that's a great play. Tyler Linderbaum, I'm fading the Iowa center just because I don't think a center is going to be drafted in the first round. I'm taking the over on that one.
Okay.
And there's a few interesting ones, and one I'll get to a little bit later. But I'm also kind of interested in under 4.5 Pac-12 players, and the juice has moved a little bit on that one, which is why I'm not including it in my 5Ls. But it's one that I'm looking at, under 4.5 Pac-12 players. And the biggest thing with this, though, is if you're betting the NFL draft and you really, you're big on it, there's certain markets you're looking for, just keep your eyes out at all times because as we're seeing, these lines are incredibly volatile. You might think you can get in on a line in the morning, and by the afternoon, it's moved 50, 60 cents at least.
Wow. Okay, that is really interesting. That is very interesting. A lot of talk all of a sudden about Kyle Hamilton being in play for the Baltimore Ravens, which is wild to me.
I don't think he gets past the Commanders at 11.
Okay.
But the 11 is outside of that 10.5.
Oh, yeah. You're good by that if it works out that way. Yeah. All right, let's get into our 5Ls for this week. Aaron presents us with 5 bets that he's hoping are not 5 losses. It's just that all the words start with L. It's alliteration. I feel like you guys should be able to handle this. It's a bet that is local. It's a bet that's a long shot, a bet that's long-term, as well as bets that are both lovable and losers during the course of the week. And you're basically already cashing in one of the bets that you threw out last week. Your lovable bet, you started messaging me afterwards, like, have you watched the line move? This one we're cashing in on.
Yeah, last week I gave out over 5.5 wide receivers. I believe at the time it was minus 135 or minus 140.
152 was the number at the time.
152, okay, 152 at the time. Yeah, it's minus 275 right now.
Yep.
So again, and that was one that started moving not immediately after I gave it out, but I think later that day it started to move, and by the next day it was up over minus 200. So like I said, these lines, based on a little bit of news, based on a major mock draft from Kuiper, McShay,
Yep.
whoever, or even just some money coming in.
I didn't even. I don't know if I told you we had Jeremiah on like the day after. Daniel Jeremiah was on like the day after this last week, and I said, "Hey Daniel, what do you think the biggest storyline is going to be for the first night of the draft?" And I swear to God, he said the wide receivers. They're all going to start going. They're all going, and I was just laughing. I'm like, "Well, I regret not putting that one in when Aaron told me to put it in."
By the way, that's the one other thing I do want to say just about betting NFL draft before I get into the 5Ls. So in most cases, I'm like a lot of people where I am a little bit of juice adverse. If you're betting something minus 200 in a normal game, just because of how sports work, a lot of times you're not getting great value there, or minus 300. There's no such thing as a guarantee in sports. In the NFL draft, there's more of a guarantee. If you really, truly believe in something, if you think, again, I hate the term lock. There's a such thing as a lock in the NFL draft. If I'm telling you that, let's say Sauce Gardner, I think it's almost a lock he goes in the top. So there is a way he doesn't. But if you're getting minus 200 on that, minus 250, there might actually be value in that.
Sure.
Because it is so much. There are so much more guarantees in the NFL draft than there are in sports. So don't necessarily be juice averse when it comes to the NFL
I felt
draft.
that way, by the way, about the Warriors last night. They were like minus 300 in game 2. I'm like, yo, have you guys seen this team? I'm like, I get it. It's the NBA playoffs, and the Nikola Jokic is on the other side. So like, there's only so far that you can go. But I don't know. I kind of felt the same way where I'm like, and I don't even know. I think it was minus 275 or something like that. Where I'm just like, what are we doing here? Like, that's just money. Like, and it turns out I feel stupid about not betting, just picking him to cover, but it is what it is. I couldn't believe.
By the way, that Sauce Gardner under 7.5 at minus 182 is another one of those that you could get it at minus 130 yesterday, and it's now up to minus 182.
I hear you, but aren't we like? Couldn't we be a quarterback away from something being screwed up there? 7.5 is tough for me.
See, it's not the quarterback that I think can screw you up. I think it's the potential of 3 edge rushers at the top of the draft that could get interesting.
Okay, right. Like all of a sudden,
everybody's
in on Trayvon Walker all of a sudden. Like,
well, that's one. I mean, he might. It's not all of a sudden. He's at this point plus 175 to go number one.
I hear you.
It's all about Thibodeau right now. So basically for the Sauce, here's the way he doesn't go in the first 7. Because I think at worst he ends up at the Giants. Well, 2 ways. A, if someone trades down, that could get all messy. But if, let's say, it does go Hutchinson, Walker, Thibodeau, 1, 2, 3, you have the 2 offensive linemen go 4 and 5. You have Pickett goes 6. Then you have the Giants deciding it's if basically if the Giants have a decision between like Evan Neal, if he's there at 7, that's where it gets interesting.
Okay. All right.
Because otherwise, I think, and my host on the nightcap on VSiN, Sean King, has been talking to defense coordinators who say that there are some teams who have Sauce Gardner as number 1 on their board.
I've heard that from a few people. They genuinely believe he's the best player in the draft, right? I'm hoping
with the Jets pick and 2 Giants picks, all of them needing corner. I think it's again not a lock. No such thing as a lock. I think it's very likely.
I'm rooting for you to be wrong, so he falls to about 8 or 9, and the Ravens can move up and get him. That's what I'm rooting for.
Go.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Why don't the Ravens just trade up to 6 to make me happy?
Because I only want them to trade from their 3rd and 4th round pick. They have 7 3rd and 4th round picks, and everybody's raving about how this is a great year to have all these 3rd and 4th round. Get the F. You say that all of the time. Go get the good players. What are we doing?
Isn't that the Belichick fallacy there?
Yes, it's It very much is that. You're right about that. All right, let's get into the 5Ls. He's Aaron Oster. Number 1, let's start with a local bet.
Local bet. I actually just want to talk about a popular bet, trendy bet right now in baseball, which is the first inning run. It's become kind of the new popular thing. It's been out for a while, but over the past couple of years, it's become really popular, and you can see why among casual bettors. You can walk into a sports book, place down, 8 first inning bets on all the 7 o'clock games, leave by 7:30 and have all your tickets done. So, it's really fun. The problem is I think a lot of these casual bettors are looking at this the wrong way. They look for the no first inning run because they just look for the hot pitchers. They put the no, and that's that. Well, what they're forgetting is they're also facing statistically the highest scoring inning in baseball because both teams have the top of their lineup coming up. So I'm always looking for the yes in this one, and I think this might be an opportunity to play the yes. Oakland 8-3 when it comes to first inning runs this season. And I don't think that changes. Obviously, they scored a first-inning run yesterday. The game did. And I think it'll happen again today. The lines are not quite up yet because the Orioles were late to get their pitcher out.
They still haven't. Have they?
They still haven't officially announced it. But when that comes up, I'll be looking to play the yes in this one. So, yes, first-inning run in Orioles Athletics.
Oh, they must have. Actually, all right, now that I look, they must have just announced it was Chris Ellis. So, all right. I hear you. The only thing I'm worried about that is that, like, the Athletics lineup still stinks. I don't know who's back from COVID yet, but, like, it still stinks. And we know the Orioles don't score runs. They're philosophically opposed to scoring runs as an organization, is something they've said this year. So it's the only thing that makes me a little bit nervous about that, but I hear you. I mean, like, it's and Paul was just going on to me about how good Chris Ellis is, that I believe he said you should change his name to Cy Ellis. Because he was brilliant. He was simply spectacular in his 6 starts in the major league level last year. So I don't know. I'd be a little bit careful about that. But hell, for the fun of it,
even Cy Youngs can give up a run in the first.
All right, for the fun of it, maybe I'll play it with you. All right, next, let's go with a long term. Let's go with the futures bets.
Yeah, one more baseball bet before I get into the NFL draft. This one, I'm going to say Hunter Green, NL Rookie of the Year at plus 450 right now. It's very simple. He had 3,900 mile-an-hour pitches in his last start. That means he's going to be on the highlight reel over and over and over again this season. Pretty much every time he pitches, he's going to be constantly in the minds of voters. Right now, Suzuki is the favorite for a good reason in the National League.
He's smashing bombs.
What's that?
He's smashing bombs, man. I got him.
Yeah.
I got him before the season began. I'm very excited.
That's a really nice ticket to have right now, as I believe he's plus 110 right now. And again, favorite for a reason, but I think there's still value because I do think that this might come down to Green and Suzuki when all's said and done in the National League. And just his constant presence. Look, if I can get a two-horse race at plus 450 with a guy who pitches well, who profiles well, and again, who's going to be on every highlight reel because of how fast he throws, I like that at plus 450.
All right. That was my theory with John Morant and NBA MVP, and it did not work out. So there is that. All right, give me a long shot bet, something that's an underdog.
As I was prepping for this, this is a bet that I actually liked a little bit more yesterday, but you know what? Well, it's still a decent long shot, and I had actually mentioned this to you over text a couple weeks ago. Devin Lloyd to go in the top 10 at plus 600. And this first got on my radar when Bruce Feldman wrote about it. I believe it was about 2 weeks ago. And he had Devin Lloyd up in the top 4 as just a speculative play of this guy has all the intangibles. He's perfectly safe. He might be the safest player in the draft, and defensive coordinators are going to fall in love with him. He had him all the way up to the Jets at 4. Since then, slowly you're seeing more and more notable mock drafts have him in the top 10, largely to the Seahawks at 9. Sometimes you can see him to the Giants at 7. But the linebacker from Utah, he's just a really solid player, and it could get to the point in the draft where if something goes a little bit wonky, a team's top target is going to go off the board, they might just really default to Devin Lloyd there as just a really solid, safe player, and would make a lot of sense in Seattle, honestly, at 9.
Okay.
Looking to shore up the middle of that defense. It's plus 600 right now to go top 10. I think I'd take a bite at that.
All right. I don't hate. I like Devin Lloyd, man, as a player. He's a hell of a football player. In fact, I wouldn't be angry. I think the Ravens have bigger needs, but I wouldn't be angry if that was the way things shaped out for them, and he ended up being the guy at 14. Aaron Oster is with us. We're going through the 5 L's. So now the big ones. Let's start with the loser, the one that you say, stay the F away. Whatever you do, do not make this bet.
There's one bet I saw, and I won't say I don't understand. I kind of understand it, but I really dislike it for 2 reasons. And that's Matt Corral to go in the first round or the top 32 at minus 120. First of all, I just don't think you should be minus money to go in the first round. If you want to say it's 50-50, fine, but definitely should not be minus 120. Mainly, I don't think he's going ahead of Desmond Ridder. I don't even know he's going before Sam Howell. And I don't think there's going to be 5 quarterbacks taken. But putting that aside, let's say you even do believe, you know what, I do believe Matt Corral is going to go in the first round. I think there's a better way to play it. First of all, like I said, I do not believe that Corral will go before Ridder. So that means if Corral goes in the first round, he's going to be the 4th quarterback on the board. There's a bet right now on Fanduel. The over-under for quarterbacks is 3.5. The over is plus 124. So if you think Matt Corral is going to go in the first round, play the over on quarterbacks, 3.5 at
You get
plus
better
124.
odds. Yeah.
Yeah, the only way that the minus 120 makes sense, if you think that specifically Matt Corral is the 3rd quarterback taken, there are only going to be 3 quarterbacks taken. That's the very narrow window for that bet to hit. You're laying minus 120 for it. Doesn't make sense. Avoid that bet.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I think that's smart thinking. I don't like giving you any praise at all, but I think that's smart thinking. And then finally, much like last week with the wide receivers, this is the one. Whatever you got to do to get to Hanover and get to the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. If you got to Uber from out in the western part of the state, if you've got to get a piggyback ride from a friend of yours all the way down there, do whatever is necessary in order to get this there to make this bet, because it is your love bet of the week.
Yeah, this is another one that I'm kind of seeing, and I feel like the juice is going to flip on this very quickly. And that's the total number of players in the first round from the ACC. The number right now is 4.5. I think that there should, again, won't use locks. I think it's very likely that 5 players go. You have Kenny Pickett, Ike Ekwonu, and Jermaine Johnson all completely locks. Zion Johnson, not 100% locked, but he's pretty close
That's
to a
a
lock.
Bowie native, Zion Johnson, by the way, the Boston
That's right.
College offensive lineman.
Which basically says you're getting minus 108 for Andrew Booth, the Clemson corner, to go to the first round. And right now, Andrew Booth is minus 200 to go in the first round. So when you're getting
the aforementioned Sam Howell, of course.
Yeah, or the Sam Howell. That's true. Like, there are 2 players there to get that 5th spot. I think it's incredibly likely you're getting minus 108 on this. I love this bet, and there's so many different ways. And I was kind of going through it because I was looking at, should I maybe play cornerbacks instead if I like Andrew Booth? No, because cornerbacks are playing a lot more juice. This is the best way to play this bet, and I really think it hits over 4.5 ACC players in the first round at minus 108.
All right, that's his love bet. There you go. Aaron, remind everybody what's going on with VSiN.
Of course, we're getting you ready for the NFL draft. All of our shows from Michael Lombardi, Sean King, Michael Pritchard, just all of our NFL experts and our gambling experts are getting you ready for the NFL draft. Our draft guide is going to be ready, and we'll have those out on our newsletter. You can check that out at VSiN.com and sign up for it, as well as our NFL guide should be coming out late in the week. So sign up now, VSiN.com, and if you go to VSiN.com/spring, you can get a special deal for the spring season.
Excellent. All right, at the Oster on Twitter is how you follow him. Aaron, appreciate it, pal. We'll talk to you next week.
Hope all your tickets hit, and can't wait till next week in the draft.
It's Aaron Oster from out in Vegas at VSiN joining us here on Simply the Bets. When we come back in, we'll check in with the assistant general manager of the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. He's Leon Twyman, and he joins us next. This is Simply the Bets. Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new Fanduel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The newest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Maryland men's basketball's 2002 NCAA Tournament Championship, as Gary Williams reflects on how the program rose from the ashes of NCAA sanctions to the pinnacle of the sport, and why his perspective of the title run has changed now 2 decades later. Plus, Juan Dixon, Lonnie Baxter, and the rest of the team relive the moments that ultimately led them to cutting down the nets in Atlanta. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Answering Baltimore's calls for help, running in when others run away, working together toward one shared vision for a thriving city. That's your Baltimore Police. But the department needs more good people. People like you. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
The biggest pro wrestling stars today and all time all have one thing in common. You've heard them on Jobbing Out.
Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks.
Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
The great Kurt Angle.
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Matt Riddle.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man.
The champ, Drew McIntyre.
Oh, thank you for having me.
The great Ron Simmons.
Damn.
Keith Lee.
Appreciate you guys having me, man.
Bill Goldberg.
My pleasure.
Charlotte.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mick Foley is with us.
This is the greatest name for a wrestling show I've ever heard.
MJF.
I'm glad you're happy I'm on this show because I'm freaking miserable.
Le
champion!
Chris Jericho.
Le champion.
AJ, Aaron, Brandon, and Glenn are talking pro wrestling every week on Jobbing Out. Find it at PressBoxOnline.com/radio, iTunes, and SoundCloud.
Stay tuned. Your chance to win $1 million is coming up. Probably not from us. You're listening to Glenn Clark Radio.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue. No, actually, this is Simply the Bet. What am I doing? STB is what it is. This is Simply the Bets, brought to you by the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. Speaking of which, he is, of course, the Assistant General Manager of the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. He is our friend, Mr. Leon Twyman, and he joins us now on Simply the Bets. What's going on, Leon? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you all doing?
I'm all right, man. What was it like this week? This weekend to me, by the way, it's not the NCAA tournament, but it's the closest feel that you can get to the NCAA tournament where you just got basketball all day long. You're not getting multiple games going at the same time because they space them out, so it's 4 games on each day. I actually truly love the first weekend of the NBA playoffs. What were the crowds like in the FanDuel Sportsbook this past weekend?
Oh, it was absolutely insane in there. Especially that Brooklyn and Celtics game. That was definitely an emotional roller coaster for everyone in there.
Holy crap, man. That one was wild. And that whole series probably should continue to be like that, right? Like, those two, with the Kyrie stuff, right? My God, man.
Yeah, I think it's going to be probably the best series right now.
I guess it's hard to argue that. I was mesmerized. I put a sizable chunk of change on the Warriors last night because I had lost it. I'm an idiot, Leon. I know this is news for you because otherwise I come off as just a really smart guy and just a brilliant mind. But I looked at Luka Doncic being out and I was like, how can the Jazz lose? Like, how could that be possible? And apparently I did not get the memo that Jalen Brunson was a thing. So I lost a fair bit of money on the Jazz last night and turned around and said, well, I need that money back. So I threw even more money, almost recklessly, at the Golden State Warriors. And thankfully, they look like the Golden State. Remember that the first time we saw like that group of players come together and we were like, oh, this is kind of special. This team now with Jordan Poole clicking the way that he is, it's starting to remind me of that first group of players that we saw with the Warriors.
Oh, it definitely is, and I heard that a lot last night. I kept hearing from everyone that was there, oh, this is the championship Golden Warriors. This is the team.
Yeah, man. It is. Like, there's no Andre Iguodala. Well, I guess technically there is, but he's not that Andre Iguodala to defend the way that he did when all this first started. But Jesus, man, Jordan Poole is nuts, and they are a scary team. So I imagine that's where the excitement's going to be for the majority of the week in the FanDuel Sportsbook, is everybody getting down there to watch the NBA playoffs.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That, and also this Saturday we have the Tyson Fury fight. So
that's right. That's a big one coming up on Saturday. So people can – so is that one that you would say, hey, if you want to guarantee your spot for, you might want to make sure that you send an email to events@sportssocialmd.com when you get a big fight like that? Are you expecting a really big crowd?
We're hoping for a big turnout. This is going to be the first big boxing event to see how it turns out. I would say do it just in case because you never know. Just like UFC, you definitely want to call for UFC. So I would say boxing would be the same thing for something big like this.
So that's Saturday night again. Events at sportssocialmd.com. And if you want to guarantee a table or guarantee reclining seats to watch the fights on Saturday night, events at sportssocialmd.com, the way to do it. Tyson Fury is a big favorite against Dylan White in that fight. Give me an idea, Leon, just for, again, when we're still talking about firsts here in the state of Maryland, right? Like, this is the first, as you mentioned, big boxing match that, like, fans are going to have the opportunity to come hang out, watch, and bet. We all know that you can bet the fight outright, but what are some other things that you can do as far as betting a fight, a big fight this Saturday night?
So what you can do with this, you can actually bet if the fight's going to go the distance. You can bet if there's going to be like a knockout in a specific round. You can do group round betting, so you can have like Tyson Fury to win in round 1, 2, or 3, 4, or 4, 5, and 6, so on. The method of the victory, whether it's going to be by points or decisions, KO, TKO, a draw. There's also will there be a win in 60 seconds? That's interesting.
What are the odds for that? Wait. What are the odds
right now on that are 100 to 1 for either way.
Why would you tell me that, Leon? I might need to. You might know a guy named Schmlen Flark that might be wandering down to just toss a couple. I mean, you can just toss like down $2 and it could end up making you $200. Come on,
exactly,
man.
You never know. There's also what minute will the fight end in? Will there be a knockdown? There's just so many different things that you can bet with this fight.
That's pretty cool. So again, get down there this Saturday for the fight. Fury and White will be available for you in the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. He is Leon Twyman. He's the Assistant General Manager of the Fanduel Sportsbook. He's with us here on Simply the Bets. Leon, and then the big one, our next event with you guys is coming up 1 week from this Thursday night. So we will be there on the 28th for the first round of the NFL Draft. And there are more and more prop bets for the draft that it feels like are available literally every day in the Fanduel Sportsbook.
Yeah, they're just basically coming out of nowhere. They're just adding these on the closer that it gets. So there's just so many different things that you can pick from right now, which is just insane. It could be a lot of fun for anyone.
I just saw, for example, you can, if you want, you could bet on who the Giants will take with both of their picks, parlay the 5th and the 7th pick together in order to try to win some money that way. And if, for example, they take, right now the favorite is they take Sauce Gardner with the 5th pick and Evan Neal, the tackle from Alabama, with the 7th pick. You parlay those two together, you get plus 950 odds for the two favorites there. So these are the types of props that are available, and there's a never-ending list of things that you can bet related to the NFL Draft. And then, Leon, the cool thing to me about that night, and why I'm encouraging people to get out that night, I think it's the best live betting night or event of the year, because you can literally just go pick by pick with those 61 self-service kiosks, is just keep walking up and betting the next pick that's going to be made.
Yes, yeah, and that just gets everyone more involved with the betting, and it makes them feel like they are there at the draft.
Right? It's a great way of explaining it. It really does. It makes it feel like you are a part of the event because you are the one that's putting in I'm announcing the next pick. My next pick is going to be Ike Kwanu. My next pick is going to be whoever it is. It really does make you feel like you are at the draft and you are a part of it when you're live betting. So we will be there 1 week from Thursday night. What else is going on this week? What else stands out to you events-wise, stuff people are talking about? You got action coming in on. What else is going on in the FanDuel Sportsbook?
Right now, it's just the playoffs. Everyone's just hammering those playoffs at this time. We are a big NBA market, so the main focus right now is definitely NBA.
The Warriors have come down to plus 500 to win the title. I think I've told you before, Leon, I am a massive Phoenix Suns fan. I worked out in Phoenix for 3 years, from 06 to 08, when D'Antoni and Nash and Stoudemire and Marion were there. It was a very exciting time in my life. I fell in love. I haven't relinquished it, and I am very nervous after watching the Warriors play last night. I am extraordinarily nervous about a potential Western Conference Finals. It'd be great for basketball. Oh, my God, those nights, those games would be electric as hell in the FanDuel Sportsbook. But I'm very nervous about it as a Suns fan.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We still have people that are hoping Brooklyn is going.
Not a great start to forget that, pretty good player to leave wide open at the end of the game if you're going to win an NBA title. I wouldn't recommend leaving Jason Tatum standing by himself while you all collapse on Marcus Smart. No offense to Marcus Smart, just would say that maybe that's not the best way to go about winning an NBA title, Leon. But what do I know about basketball? Not ideal. All right, man. Again, everything available in the Fanduel Sportsbook. Let's talk it through. The kiosk opener 24/7, and remind everybody the hours otherwise for the Fanduel Sportsbook.
Yeah, so during the week, Monday through Friday, excuse me, we are open 11 a.m. to midnight, and then Saturday and Sunday we are open 9 a.m. to midnight at the counter. And the kiosks are open 24/7, 61 kiosks, so you can bet any time of the day.
Whatever it is. You're betting a soccer match that's happening early in the morning, you can get in there and bet on those kiosks. You're betting you've got a problem and you want to bet a Taiwanese baseball game or something like that, you can do it. You don't know who any of the teams are. I've had quite a few nights where something went wrong, and I said, I need to get something back. And I bet on the Rhinos and the Lions. And I just said, sure, why not? Let's see how it goes. I might have a problem.
It's interesting when I'm looking in the system, just looking at some of our bets being placed. We don't see some of these bets at the counter, but we have, Chinese basketball, Korean baseball, and I'm like, man, who's betting these? Because I don't ever see these.
There's a guy that's been out for a few of our events that we've done there that always comes up to me as like, dude, I'm telling you, it's Gaelic second division soccer, bro. Like, that is where there's money to be made. And he's not kidding. He keeps showing me all of these tickets that he's cashed and won. I'm like, brother, God bless you. I don't think I'm going to be able to get in on that. I don't think that's going to be the case. All right, Leon Twyman, always appreciate it, my friend. We will talk to you again next Tuesday, all right?
Yes, sir. I'll be there. Appreciate it.
It's Leon Twyman, the assistant general manager of the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. And again, the big fight this Saturday night, Tyson Fury, Dylan White. You're going to want to be there. Events at sportssocialmd.com in order to guarantee your spot. How about a tidbit of the week?
All right. So, first and foremost, I'm not an NBA guy, so you're going to have to clue me in on this. Marcus Smart.
Yes.
Defensive player of the year.
He was defensive player of the year, yes.
Was he like a shoo-in?
I didn't check the markets, so I can't tell you that, right? Like, I didn't put any bets in on defensive player of the year. He's a hell of a defensive player, so I don't know if he was a shoo-in.
Somebody at the BetMGM won $50,000 on a $100 bet that Marcus Smart would be defensive player of the year.
What did he won
$50,000.
And how much was his bet?
On a $100 bet.
$100 bet.
Which means that he went off at 500 to 1 at some point.
Yeah, I mean, before the season, I could see that being the case. Once we got into the season, that would have been difficult. But before the season, I could see him just being amongst the list of other players that were available. That you have a certain number of guys with odds, then you get to a certain point, and it's like everybody's kind of 500 to 1 at that point.
Gotcha. Yeah, because there were people that were responding to this tweet that Darren Rovell put out, saying they need to see the ticket because there's no way he was ever 500 to 1 or even 50 to 1. That's why I asked how good of a defensive player he was.
It's tough for me to 500 to 1 is still a stretch. It's not impossible. It's not. It's not impossible, and there's always ways to fudge odds, and so you can buy better odds, things along those lines. I don't know, man, but I don't know. Before the season began, I'd have to really think about. I just don't check defensive player of the year markets. It's not something I've ever. I bet a lot of things in my life, Paul. I've never bet NBA defensive player of the year in my life, so I don't know what there was. It seems believable. 500 to 1. 500 to 1's a stretch. I don't know. I got to think about that a little bit more.
Yeah, I got to get in on this because I'm looking to buy a house in the next year.
I mean, that would have been a good way to put a nice chunk of change down if you would have thought about Marcus Smart before the season.
I would have known who he was.
I bet you're just not that smart.
Ha!
All right, so that'll do it for Simply the Bets. Thanks to our friends.
Proud of himself.
No, I'm not at all. Thanks to our friends in the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Thursday, we will be back with Weekend at Bookies to get you ready for what's coming up this weekend. We will do that Thursday morning right around 11:40 a.m. This has been this week's Simply the Bets. May the odds be ever in your favor.